Hey guys, I hope you're all doing really well. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different and we're going to be ranking all of the British comedies that I have seen. I know it's 2021 and we're doing one of these like tier list things, but I really wanted to do this. Ever since I've seen other people do it, I just thought I need to rank British comedies that I've seen. And as you guys all know, I'm a huge British comedy fan, so I thought, why not just go for it, you know? Before we get into it, I just want to say that although I'm going to try and keep this as unbiased as possible, these are all just my opinions, so my favourite might be your least favourite and vice versa, so just keep that in mind. And also, if one of your favourites isn't on the list, that is probably just because I haven't seen it and it's just not fair for me to make an assessment based on something that I haven't seen. So if you don't see your fave up there, it's nothing personal, obviously, I just haven't seen it or I haven't seen enough of it. And also, we're going to go in no particular order as on like actually ranking them. I've just taken them from BBC iPlayer and Channel 4 and also any other ones that I didn't see on there but I knew were out there and that I've seen. So that's where I'm going from. So I'm going to do the BBC show first and I'm going to do the Channel 4 and other shows maybe in a part 2 because I think this is going to be quite long because I'd like to talk a lot about the shows that I've seen and why I'm ranking them the way that I rank them. So the tiers are just 5 to 1. If I'm looking down, I'm looking at my iPad because that's where the list is. So yeah, the tiers go from 5 to 1, 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. I couldn't think of anything funny to say, so I just kept it at 5 to 1. So the first show on our list is Bad Education. Now I'm putting this in number 3 only because it was funny but it just wasn't brilliant. Like, I really enjoyed the premise of it, like set in a school, and it was quite relatable, but it was also at the same time very unrealistic. A lot of the dialogue I just don't think would happen in a real school, and obviously it is supposed to be for comedy, but it was enjoyable to watch, but I don't want to watch it again in a hurry, and it wasn't amazing. Although that being said, there is some really great representation in the show. There's representation of disabilities, LGBTQ+, students of colour. Although it might not always be done in the best way, it's still there. Next we have Gavin and Stacy. Now I feel like I'm gonna get cancelled for this and I have a few other opinions that are quite controversial, but I really didn't like Gavin and Stacy. It wasn't for me. Like, we're talking about British comedies, and although there were some really funny bits and there were some really relatable bits, I just didn't find it just wasn't funny. It felt more like a drama than a comedy. And when it's labelled as a comedy, if that makes sense. Like, again, there are some funny bits to it, but I feel like it was more drama than comedy. I get that it is one of the most iconic British comedies ever. Personally, I'm just not in a hurry to rewatch Gavin and Stacy. It's meh to me. I didn't mind it, like, I'll watch it if it's on TV, but I'm not in a hurry to watch it again. Next we have Ghosts, and this is going straight into number 4, and there is the only reason it's not going into 5 is because, and I'll say this again when we get to the other Six Idiot comedies, I wanted more of the Six Idiots being other characters, you know, and I know it's more like a sitcom less than like a sketch show, but I feel like that's what the Six Idiots do best. They play so many different characters, each of them are so versatile, and although we did get a few of them, you know, they play the main ghost, the plague pit victims, and I think Larry plays 2 characters, he plays the Tudor and the caveman. I just wish we'd got more of it, you know. That is the only reason it's in 4 and not 5. Otherwise, it is excellent, like one of the funniest things to come out of the last 5 years, and I can say that in like quite confidently. Yeah, I thought it was incredible, fantastic. The only reason it's in 4 and not 5 is because I wish we could see more of the Six Idiots. Next up is the Mighty Boosh. This one is going into 4, and again, I feel like I'm going to say this a lot, the only reason it's not in 5, because I think it's brilliant, I think it's more of just like a piece of artwork than comedy. Obviously it's very funny and some of it's very clever, but I feel like we should appreciate it for much more than just that. It's just amazing. It's so artsy, it's so different, it's so alternative and it's like nothing I've ever seen. So that is the only reason I'm putting it in 4 and not 5, is because I feel like it's not comedy, even though it is in the category of British comedy, I feel like it's just not appreciated for what it is, if that makes sense. It's more like a piece of art than a piece of comedy, but it is funny and brilliant at the same time. It's incredible, and yeah, I just think it's more of a piece of art than a piece of comedy. Okay, next up we have Horrible Histories, and okay, I'm putting this in 4, and the reason it's not in 5 is just because I feel like it is aimed at more of a younger age. So some of the jokes do feel a bit childish, but that is okay because it is aimed at a younger age. It is aimed at a younger age. Like, it's a children's show. At the end of the day, Horrible Histories is made for children, not meant for like British comedy. Although that doesn't mean like we can't enjoy it. Like, me and my mum absolutely love Horrible Histories. Like, she loves watching it with me, and she's like an adult. But I'm just saying that it is primarily aimed at younger children, so some of the jokes and some of the humour does just feel a little bit childish for my taste anyway. But that being said, I think it's brilliant. I think it is incredible. Yeah, that's just the reason why it's in 4 and not 5. Okay, next up we have Miranda. Now, I'm putting this in 3. I've watched through it a few times, and I just realised it's like Horrible Histories. It is aimed more at children, although they do like swear in it and, you know, joke about sex, as Miranda would say. I think it is aimed at more of a younger age, so the jokes in it feel a bit too forced and aimed at younger children. I'm not saying it's not funny. Like, again, me and my mum watch it happily. She loves it. But I feel like it is aimed more at younger children, or not younger children, like younger people. And now that I've got a more of a developed taste, it's not really for me, the style of humour. I think Miranda is really funny. She is amazing. I love her. But some of the other characters really got on my nerves. Like Gary in the last season. Oh, he really got on my nerves. I did not like him at all, and he just kind of ruined the season for me, and I feel like it was so forced, them getting into a relationship. I really like them as just friends, honestly, and that kind of ruined it for me. So that is why it's in 3 and not 4 or 5. Okay, next up we have The Young Ones, and this one is going into 5. I was originally thinking of putting it into 4, but honestly, I couldn't think of any reasons for it not to be in 5 because it's amazing. Again, it's just so good. Like, it is peak British student culture, even though it's a little bit more of a caricature. Like, that is done in such a good way, and the cast have such amazing chemistry, and it's just such a fun mashup of like music and drama and comedy and everything. It's got a bit of everything. So I just couldn't think of a reason for it to be lower. So The Young Ones is a top tier comedy. Next up we have Not Going Out. Now, I've not actually seen all of this, but I feel like I've seen enough of it to give it a fair judgment. This show is so cleverly written, and I think that just shows how clever Lee Mack is as a writer, and I wish we got to see more of him as a writer because he is fantastic at writing comedy. Like, the jokes they just come like that, and it doesn't feel forced at all. The only reason it's not in 5 is because I feel like it went on a bit too long. It's got something like 12 seasons now, and even though each season isn't very long, I feel like with comedy, and I'm going to explain this more as the video goes on, but I think with comedy in this style, less is more when it comes to seasons, because I feel like they run out of fresh ideas and it feels forced, and it feels like they are serving the fans of the show, which is, there's nothing wrong with that if you have fresh ideas to give them, but if you don't and you're like grasping at strings to, you know, provide content, it feels forced and it's not that great. That being said, I haven't seen the last few seasons, but from when I've been watching, it doesn't feel as authentic as the first few seasons. Next up we have Bottom, and this is, I'm putting it in 4 just because it is excellent. I really love it, but there are some episodes that I really love, but there are some episodes that I really just don't like, and I always skip when I rewatch it, and they're just not memorable. Some episodes are really, really, really memorable, and some I just always forget about because they're not funny or entertaining in my opinion, so I just skip them and go to the ones that I like. So that is the only reason that Bottom is not in 5 and it's in 4. But then again, it's so funny. I love the way they film it, and it's, you know, really slapstick. Again, that is another thing that I don't like though. It does sometimes feel too rehearsed. I know with the style of filming that is kind of to be expected, but I don't really mind it. It's just getting really nitpicky at the moment. But yeah, I love it. That is the reason why it's not in 5. It's just some of the episodes fall too flat for me to enjoy them. I feel like I'm going to get cancelled for this one, but anyway, remember, this is just my opinion. The next one is Fawlty Towers, and I am putting that one in 3. Oh, I feel really bad because I know it's like a really like iconic bit of British like TV. I just didn't like it. I don't know why, because it is usually the style of comedy that I like. But I don't know what it is about it. Am I missing something? But I just didn't enjoy it. Like, I'm in no rush to watch this again. I don't know what it is about it. I just didn't like it. That being said though, I didn't put it in 1 or 2 because I still think some of bits were really, really funny and some of bits were really, really clever. Other than that, I just didn't, it was the laugh out loud moments were just too few and far between for me to actually enjoy it, and I just didn't like it. That's all I can really say. Like, there are just some things you just don't like, and Fawlty Towers is one of them. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry, guys. Next up, we have the Vicar of Dibbly. Now, I've watched through this quite a few times, and I honestly don't remember one of the episodes. Like, I guess I just didn't I was paying attention to it, like, every single time I watched through it, but it's just not memorable. Like, there are a few fun moments that I remember, like, you know, when she jumps in the puddle, that I think is one of the most iconic bits of British humour ever. It just makes me laugh every time, but other than that, I don't remember it. It's just not memorable. And again, the laughs were too few and far between for me to really enjoy it. That being said, I absolutely adore Dawn French. I think she is just so funny and she's such a great character just on her own. But the Vicar of Dibbly, it just fell kind of short for me. It wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't really like it. But that again, it's just my opinion. But yeah. It's kind of the same thing as Fawlty Towers. Like, I enjoyed it and I appreciated it for what it is, but I just don't think, it just wasn't for me. I just didn't enjoy it. Next up, we have The Office, and yes, it is the British Office, aka the Superior Office. Yes, I have watched both. The British Office is still superior, and that is going in 3. It's for the same reasons as the previous 2. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than Fawlty Towers and the Vicar of Dibbly, but even then I just felt like the laughs were few and far between, and like a few bits of it were quite boring, to be honest. That being said though, I really like the writing style of it. I think it was really, really brilliant, and Ricky Gervais, he's just such a great character. On his own and in this, and I don't really have much to say about it. I'm very neutral about The Office, but I did enjoy it more than some of the others in this tier. Next up, we have kind of 2 sister shows, so yeah. Next one we have is Little Britain, and this is going straight into 1. I don't even think I need to justify why this is going into 1. There are just so many issues with it. I was thinking of putting it into 2 because as I watched it before I kind of realised how inappropriate it was quite funny, I will admit. But like, now that I know how inappropriate it is, like, I cannot think back to one of those sketches and not see how offensive it was. Like, I was really, before this video, I was trying to think of a character in that was not offensive in any way. I just can't think of one. And for that reason, it's going in 1 because it is just so inappropriate. And I feel like they could have done so much better, like, with the premise that they had. I just didn't like it. Like, again, like, I will admit it was, like, a few bits of it were funny, but I feel really bad at laughing at them now because it was just so inappropriate. So that is going in 1. I am not watching it again. just because I don't feel comfortable watching it, honestly. So the next one is also by Matt Lucas and David Walliams, is Come Fly With Me. Now, I was going to put this in 1. The only reason I'm putting it in 2 and I'm giving it that 1 extra point is because I love the premise of it. Like, the fact that it's in an airport and they actually use that kind of liminal space, if you will, I really, really enjoyed that. Even though some of the characters, again, most of the characters were quite offensive. Although there are a few characters that I can think of that weren't too offensive. Although even then they could have done them in a much better way, or like they were more like just dark humor than just full-on offensive, and I kind of like that kind of stuff. But even then, like, some of it I just don't feel comfortable watching it again, so I'm not gonna watch it again despite really enjoying the premise of the show. I will talk much more about Green Wing later because in part 2, but I'm just going to compare them really quickly because I think Green Wing does everything that Come Fly With Me was trying to do, because they're both set in these kind of spaces where you get all walks of life. Green Wing in a hospital and Come Fly With Me in an airport. You know, they've got all walks of life coming through, coming and going, but then they have the staff, which are just crazy characters on their own. And what Green Wing does is it actually takes the social aspects of the characters. So, you know, you've got, you know, the kind of one who thinks they're better than everyone else, and you've kind of got the one who's really smart and really, you know, hot, and everyone's, you know, wanting to be with him. You've got the, you know, one who's really smart, but she doesn't know, like, she doesn't really know how to communicate. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's the more social aspect, and they do that really, really, really well in Green Wing. Whereas in Come Fly With Me, it's just caricatures of people, and there's no depth to it. Like, I'm not going to point out the issues in it because I feel like if you've seen it, you know, and I really don't want to get into it like right now because I don't have the energy. But it's just offensive, whereas Green Wing, it's like dark humor, and it's not offensive most of the time. It's just more playing on the social aspect rather than the physical aspect, and like what you see at face value with people. Whereas in Green Wing, we really get to know these characters, and we get to know their feelings and what's going on inside their head. Whereas Come Fly With Me, it's just a caricature, and it's not funny. I feel like I've talked for way too long, so I'm going to make this into 2 parts because we've just finished the BBC shows. So in the next part, I'm going to be ranking all of the Channel 4 shows and 2 other shows that didn't fit into BBC or Channel 4, so I'll be ranking those as well. So definitely subscribe so you know when part 2 is coming out. I'm going to film it right after this. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below, because I really, really want to see what your favourite comedies are and like what type of comedies you like, and what do you think I got right, what do you think I maybe didn't get right, what do you think should have been higher or lower, etc. So thank you guys for watching. I really, really hope you enjoyed. Follow me on Instagram and follow me on TikTok, and yeah, that's about it. Bye guys.